guys. Today we're going to be talking about psychoanalytic lens, but it's going to be more focused on the movie Tangled. This is April. I'm Gia. This is Kyla. And we're going to talk about the relationship between Mother Gothel and Rapunzel and how it kind of connects to Stockholm Syndrome. So, Kyla, can you tell me more about psychoanalytic lens?
Often when analyzing any sort of media through the psychoanalytic lens, it is better to ask yourself questions such as,
what kind of traits do the main characters have, and why do they seem to be this way?
What do you learn about the characters through the interactions they make with others and vice versa?
But before asking these, you must first ask, what is psychoanalysis?
well, let me tell you kids. Sigmund Freud believed people can gain insight by making conscious their unconscious thoughts and motivations. He found psychoanalysis, which is the unconscious mind and its impact on how people behave in levels. And those three levels are id, ego, and superego. These are the three levels of consciousness and personality.
Id is the little devil on your shoulder who tries to meet the need of immediate pleasure, and in other words is your instincts or active impulse.
Superego is a little angel on your opposite shoulder, and they are more concerned about being socially acceptable. They strive for the most perfect decision.
Ego is the happy medium. That makes the most reasonable and realistic decisions. It's one that faces all the consequences.
Freud also introduced that the unconscious mind actually represses the sexual desires with the parent of the opposite sex and forms a rivalry with the other, known as the Oedipus complex. As the repression or the action of suppressing these sorts of thoughts to keep it unconscious continues, anxiety and other negative emotions rise up.
So, April, can you tell us more about what Tangled really is about?
Tangled is a Disney movie about Rapunzel, a sheltered girl who lives in a lone tower hidden in the forest. And she's not allowed to leave due to her mother, Gothel, telling her it's a dangerous world out there. When Rapunzel doesn't know is she's trying to preserve a hair that has magic healing and aging capabilities that keep Gothel young. One day, a runaway thief stumbles upon her and they strike a deal. She prepares to discover the world for what it really is for the first time. And her dreams of going to see the floating lights that appear every year on her birthday might finally come true.
So as we analyze Tangled through the psychoanalytic lens, we realize that Mother Gothel interacts with Rapunzel passive-aggressively and makes comments that make herself more confident and seem better. She also tells horrific stories, scaring Rapunzel about the world and causing her to depend more on her mother, and never leaves the tower because of fear. Mother Gothel warns Rapunzel of the different dangers of the world, like thugs and the plague, but her list of warnings is to keep her inside and to never let her and her hair leave the tower. If it wasn't for the opening scene of old Gothel stealing baby Rapunzel for her magic healing hair, then Gothel would just be another crazy overprotective mom trying to shelter her child for the benefits of just keeping her child safe.
Back to your regularly scheduled program.
If it wasn't for an opening scene where old Gothel steals baby Rapunzel just for her magic healing hair, then Gothel would just be another crazy overprotective mom trying to shelter her child for the benefits of keeping the child safe. But in reality, Gothel doesn't even care about Rapunzel at all.
In the beginning of the movie, it shows a scene where Gothel even forgets Rapunzel's birthday to prove that Gothel only cares about Rapunzel's hair. Her interactions demonstrate her loving and caring for it more than she cares for the girl growing it.
And Rapunzel also genuinely believes that Mother Gothel is her mother, thus showing that she has no knowledge of her biological or parents status or as a princess. When Rapunzel insists on seeing the lights on her birthday, Mother Gothel responds by snapping at her for being insistent, which makes her react by feeling guilty for asking, and her mother flips the situation by pinning herself to be the bad guy. Spoiler, she kind of is. Making Rapunzel feel more guilty for making Gothel seem like the villain. The interaction fleshes out how narcissistic and greedy Mother Gothel is, as she would put her desire to be young forever over Rapunzel's only wish to see the lights, and she would use any means...
Attention seniors will be located in the little theater today at lunch. Thank you.
Anyways, she would put her own desire to be young forever over Rapunzel's only wish to see the lights, and she would use any means necessary to keep her in the tower, even if the methods cripple Rapunzel's confidence and moment of self-happiness. This relationship being shown between Mother Gothel and Rapunzel is a prime example of Stockholm Syndrome, in which the feelings of trust or affection by a victim towards a captor.
When Rapunzel finally does leave her tower, after making a deal with Flynn Rider, the thief, she begins to go to war with herself, demonstrating how her levels of consciousness are fighting for dominance.
Her id causes her to impulsively just leave with Flynn Rider and leave the tower even if she didn't want to for a while. And she becomes so excited to go see the lights and wants to see the world. Her superego, however, is making her feel really bad about herself, and she starts to fight back and forth and telling herself she's a bad daughter and thinking more of how Mother Gothel would feel instead of how she really feels. So, how does this connect to the real world? Well, let us tell you. Just don't treat your kids like this.
That's all you need to do. Just
Please.
love your kids. Love your kids. Don't abuse them like that. That's
JK, there's more.
Mother Gothel's treatment of Rapunzel is very reminiscent to emotional abuse that kids experience with their own parents. Whether the parent is aware of the effects their words and actions cause the children, they can react in a way where they depend solely on the parent and not think for themselves or their own happiness.
Can you say that line again?
The whole thing?
Yes, please.
Okay. Mother Gothel's treatment of Rapunzel is very reminiscent to emotional abuse that kids experience with their own parents. Whether the parent is aware of the effects their words and actions cause the children, children can react in a way where they depend solely on the parent and not think for themselves or their own self-happiness. In other words, the parent's happiness and desires are more significant than a child's own happiness and worth.
Even when the child is growing up from adolescence to adulthood, remnants of the emotional abuse suffered from a parent is left on their being, such as insecurity of their desires, self-doubt, and constant questioning of whether they even matter. Sadly, unlike Tangled, where Rapunzel escapes Mother Gothel's grasp thanks to Flynn Rider, cutting her hair and rendering the mother's youthness as null, victims of emotional abuse or Stockholm Syndrome take more time and effort to recover from the damage dealt from what they have suffered.
Tangled also introduces children to an incredibly valuable lesson that many forms of media rarely touch upon. It's that Rapunzel was a victim of systematic emotional abuse for 18 years of her life, but later learned to stand up for herself while simultaneously being haunted by Gothel's abuse. The impact of said abuse is apparent throughout the story, even through the smallest of detail.
For example, Gothel will degrade Rapunzel constantly of her self-esteem, but then quickly play it off as a joke, and calling Rapunzel too sensitive. Gothel is a clear example of emotional abuse that some children go through throughout many years of their life, just as Rapunzel did.
The creators of Tangled convey the subliminal ways abuse can come in. They presented to show how abuse isn't always yelling and fighting, but words along with actions, and how that treatment can be profound, The creators of Tangled conveyed the subliminal ways abuse can come in. They presented to show how abuse isn't always yelling and fighting, but words along with actions, and how that treatment can have a profound impact on the victims, especially impressionable children.
So in other words, don't forget it.
You'll regret it.
Mother knows best.
Woohoo! Ow, jeez.